at me and tell me what you see. I look at you and tell you what I feel. Look at me and tell me what you see. I look at you and tell you what I feel.
Welcome back to the Hellraiser series, with the last Hellraiser film to get a theatrical release, and it comes with a portent of doom in the form of this. Yes, this film comes to us from the director of Dune, Alien 3, American History X, and an Alan Smithy film, Burn Hollywood Burn, which is a film about a director called Alan Smithy trying to disown his own film, but is only able to use the pseudonym Alan Smithy as a replacement. And if anyone says Smithyception, I'll kill you. But yes, Alan Smithy is in fact a name placed on a movie when usually the director doesn't want their name on it due to problems or creative differences with the studio, which describes this movie to a T, and as you can imagine, doesn't start the movie off in the best light. Let's find out for ourselves. This is Hellraiser 4 Bloodline. The film begins in space on the space station Minos in the year 2127. Which is probably a reference to King Minos of Crete, who would send 7 boys and 7 girls into the labyrinth to be eaten by the Minotaur. Although that same king was also the judge of the dead at the entrance of hell in Dante's Inferno. Whichever, it's rife with interpretation, so go nuts. The station is deserted and a single man is left as he activates some kind of robot in a sealed room, controlling it with a glove interface. At the same time, a group of soldiers board the station for what we don't know yet. The man moves the robot's hands into view and we see it's holding the puzzle box, and the man starts to open it through the robot. Are you ready for the worst CGI you've ever seen? That really is exceptionally bad. And it goes to show that practical effects will always trump CGI, because the special effects of this film, the practical stuff, holds up perfectly well today and still looks pretty good, but it's the CGI that dates it considerably. The soldiers get closer as the man succeeds in opening the box. Ha! I love that robot's reaction. It just perfectly says, "Oh shit." We see a glimpse of Pinhead as the soldiers approach and we hear the man speak.
And now curiosity is satisfied. And it's time for revenge.
Pinhead disappears from his screen as he's taken into custody.
Consider yourself relieved.
Now, to be honest, I really like that opening. It gives us glimpses of what's going on and raises questions that we want to keep watching to get answers for. The soldiers meet up in one of the main rooms and explain to each other what they already know, and we're introduced to the cannon fodder and their so-called expert.
Well, Rimmer?
What was her name?
Well, Rimmer?
Really? You know I'm going to keep thinking this the whole time?
They've taken Mr. Rimmer. Sure, they've taken Mr. Rimmer. Quick, let's get out of here before they bring him back.
There goes the horror atmosphere. So Rimmer interrogates the man to find out what happened. Turns out he sent everyone off the station and she asks if there was a problem.
Was there some technical problem?
Yes, that's it. There's been a technical problem and all of you have to get the fuck off this station right now.
That's one convincing excuse. I don't know what was better, his complete heel turn or how he sounded like even he wouldn't believe it. The man explains to Rimmer that he's trying to finish something that started centuries ago, and the station they're on is something he built to stop the box and the Cenobites. To convince her, he begins to tell her the story of his ancestor, Philippe Le Marchand. This is the way the movie will progress through flashbacks to different periods in history, focusing on the man who created the puzzle box. So as Hellbound was the origin story of Pinhead, this will be the origin story of the puzzle box. We move to France several centuries in the past. The film doesn't really tell us when exactly, as we see Le Marchand constructing the puzzle box, completing his work, to which he's pleased to show his wife.
Well, what does it do?
doesn't actually do anything then?
It's my masterpiece. You simply couldn't understand.
I have to wonder what makes him think it's a masterpiece. Because either it does more stuff which he didn't show her and thus shouldn't be annoyed, or it only does that and isn't that impressive. He leaves to take the box to the person who commissioned it, a local aristocrat by the name of Delisle, to which at the same time he and his assistant entertain a prostitute.
All alone in this dark, dark world. No home, no family. Not even christened, I understand.
He lets her eat the food he's prepared, being overly protective of her for some reason.
Careful! I'd be mortified if you sliced your little finger.
You know, I'm hearing a lot of different accents here, none of them particularly French. Was it really that hard to get a French actor? Or hell, just get actors to put on a French accent? As the woman eats, things get sinister as Delisle's assistant Jacques ties the woman to the chair, to which she seems oddly pleased at. But then she notices the hooked chains hanging from the ceiling, and the food she was eating has turned rotten and fetid. So as the food is off the menu, they decide to serve an unhealthy amount of strangulation instead, killing the woman, but of course because they're French, they can't just kill her. Apologies to my French viewers for comments that may offend, but I am British, it is required. While this is going on, Le Marchand knocks on their door to deliver his masterpiece. Jesus, can you keep the camera steady? What's with the bobbing up and down? Is the cameraman getting a blowjob?
Ah, Le Marchand. As precise as your pieces. As timely as your toys. And where is the box? Pay him, Jacques. Thank you. Thank you.
Apparently that was them appreciating his masterpiece. And we still don't know why the box is needed or how it gains its mystical abilities. And I wish I had answers to those goddamn questions, but sadly I never will. Back inside, Jacques and Delisle go about their magic. Wow, a pentagram. Well, it's nice to see an old classic. They skin the woman, cleaning and hanging the skin by chains and pouring the blood on the pentagram. But enough about French cuisine. It's time to start the magic as Delisle begins his incantation.
Spectare navicula suavis. Spectare ordeum suavis.
Well, we can see why he was cast. His innate ability to make gibberish sound creepy as fuck and goofy at the same time. As a portal is opened in the floor, the box does its thing, seemingly independent of everything going on. So fuck knows if it's necessary. Personally, the way I look at it is that the box was just a box, but it was exposed to the magic spell and it absorbed it somehow. So now instead of doing a complicated ritual, all you need to do is open the box, as a sort of spell shorthand or hell speed dial. But that's really just my theory, as the film doesn't actually tell us anything. As the ritual proceeds, the skin is filled by someone or something that came through the portal, in a similar way to how Frank and Julia required skin, but I think the similarity is pure coincidence.
A summoned demon is yours to command.
Unless you stand in Hell's way.
Yes. He who summons the magic commands the magic.
That seems like a really dumb and ill-defined rule. So are demons like leprechauns? You just catch one and they'll take you to the pot of gold? And Delisle tells her her name is Angelique because she wouldn't know her name for some reason. Le Marchand was watching outside the window, and the next day he talks with his friend while he dissects a corpse, which shows some good special effects. Le Marchand asks him for advice on what to do.
Very well. Suppose, for the sake of argument, that what you fear happened has happened. A box that can open the gates of hell must be able to close them.
The box belongs to people with little interest in closing such doors.
Well, then the solution lies literally in your hands. You've designed a machine that you fear can bring forth demons.
Yeah, except he didn't. There was no evidence to suggest that the box had anything to do with what was going on, which is quite a failing on the film's part, considering that Le Marchand creating the box is the whole premise and reason for the movie. But regardless, the coroner does come up with an elegant solution.
Then design a machine that can destroy them.
Which would make sense, again, if the box had anything to do with it. Whatever, Le Marchand goes to work creating his demon killer box. We shift back to the future with the man showing Rimmer the design Le Marchand created. And then we shift right back to the past, so I guess the film just wanted to remind us it's in the future. Le Marchand goes to the chateau to steal the box back, as it's needed for his design. He gets inside to see the place is covered in blood and bugs while Jacques has sex with Angelique. No, I'm going to resist the British urge to make another French joke. Le Marchand attempts to grab the box next to the now dead Delisle. Wait, hang on. What was the point of the spell they did? Was it really just to summon a demon and fuck her? Well, they are French. No, seriously, what was the point? All it's done is get one of them killed and allowed the other one to get his end away. That seems like a lot of effort to have sex with someone who was already a prostitute. As Le Marchand tries to grab the box, Delisle revives to look really pissed off, then die properly. Angelique and Jacques have stopped their fucking for a minute as he beats Le Marchand and then gets Angelique to kill him, which is done off screen. Not sure why they're being so restrained now. Le Marchand's wife finds him inside the chateau near death as he tells her to run before dying. And so ends the first story of the film. We shift back to the future as the man gives a foreboding speech about the box and what he's unleashed, while being very vague for no real reason other than to artificially lengthen this film further. He then begins to tell her of the next Le Marchand in the Bloodline, now called Merchant, as he dreams of Angelique waking up screaming. Huh, her acting must really be that bad. We're also told at breakfast that he's a genius architect who, as we'll find out, designed the building we saw at the end of the last film. Meanwhile, in Paris, Jacques, who hasn't really aged, I guess that's something he got out of the spell, and Angelique are together, and she sees the article about Merchant and needs to speak with him, so suggests to Jacques they go to America, to which Jacques doesn't really like. The room darkens because, as you'll remember, the rule was they could control the demon as long as they didn't stand in its way when it needed to do something. Really? A vague, undefined rule ended up backfiring? Well, colour me thoroughly shocked. So Angelique goes about killing the guy, first by cutting his face and sucking the flesh off. What is with these movies always showing exposed muscle? Ugh. And she just stabs Jacques in the stomach with the claw she now has, and plays with his intestines. Come to think of it, that's the first on-screen death we've had. This film's quite tame, really. But not to worry, they don't disappoint on the gore. We shift back to New York as the film helpfully reminds us, as Merchant is at an awards ceremony for himself. He fumbles through his speech as he catches a glimpse of Angelique in the crowd, causing him to fumble even harder, ending his speech early. Was that scene needed? Did it tell us anything new? It told us that Angelique was in New York, which was already assumed. It told us that she affects Merchant, which we already knew. So unless we really needed to know Merchant's lack of skill with talking to crowds, I think it could have been removed. Outside, Angelique spots someone to do her bidding.
Oof.
Idiot!
I'm sorry, I'm very...
Hang on, you wanted to bump into him. Surely acting hostile like that is counterproductive to your plan. She begins the seduction and takes the guy down to the basement of the building, and after getting the guy to close his eyes, she smashes through a pillar, pulling out the puzzle box. Well, so much for the concrete being a deterrent, but let's be honest, nothing can stop a sequel. Also, Angelique is going to try and open the box calling Pinhead, but I really don't know why. Angelique's plans make no sense, and we never really know whether Angelique is there to help Merchant or kill him. It makes such a change to the simplicity of the first film. So the man, who needs to be shirtless for some reason, succeeds in opening the box. You know, it's getting quite ridiculous at how easy it is to open that thing. For Christ's sake, make it look slightly challenging. But yes, the box does its thing and our old friend the hooked chains appear, attaching to the man with the wall opening up as the man is dragged inside. And Pinhead appears, apparently he doesn't take part anymore for some reason. Also, is it me or is there something off with Doug Bradley's makeup? I'm glad they gave him his pins back instead of the nails, but the lines seem far too clean and look drawn on rather than actual cuts. And Angelique is surprised at Pinhead's appearance.
Hell is more ordered since your time, princess.
Yes, more ordered, in the sense that they don't let French aristos summon them for a quick fuck anymore. And considering that Pinhead was rampaging and trying to take over the world in the last movie, he really shouldn't be the one to talk about order. Angelique shows Pinhead what Merchant had built, and he recognises it as something other than just architecture.
This is not a room. This is a Holocaust waiting to wake itself.
I do like that Pinhead treats what is essentially his doomsday machine with the right amount of awe. It's just a shame that after seeing said machine, he then proceeds into a back room of the building waiting for Angelique to fuck it up. The next day, Merchant is working on something architectural when Angelique shows up to kill, help, seduce, fuck, bake a cake. Who the fuck knows this woman's plans? He recognises her from somewhere, and because of that, he shows her his super secret, no one has seen yet demonstration of Le Marchand's original design. He describes it as perpetual light, to which Angelique reacts with horror at it. Because light kills darkness. This is as bare bones basic, black and white, good and evil as you can get, really. Angelique touches Merchant's head and he remembers her now, and gains his ancestors' memories, which again is part of Angelique's plan, but no idea in what way. Back with Pinhead, who seems to have a little friend. Ah, isn't that nice? Well, should have seen that coming. Pinhead, as I said, is biding his time in a back room, as twin security guards are checking the rooms and... Hold on. Did I read that right? Yeah, I did. What the fuck is air-conditioned yarning? How did this film have several directors and they still missed that? It boggles the mind. They find a room not on the chart, but let's be honest, it wasn't exactly accurate to begin with, and they explore the room. Meanwhile, Pinhead is telling Angelique she should show herself as she really is and not in her human skin.
What are you?
Ugh, brings a whole new meaning to the phrase, get your claws off me. It's then security arrives and they use the wrong word when dealing with Pinhead.
Just back it up against the wall. You heard him, back it up. Don't make us put some pain on you.
Pain? How dare you use that word?
I do like Pinhead's reaction to them saying pain. He treats it almost like blasphemy. He is supposed to be part of a religion that worships, well, sensation, but filmmakers like to focus on the pain part. Also, this film attempts another badass Pinhead line.
Gentlemen, I am pain.
It doesn't hold a candle to...
We'll tear your soul apart.
And I'm not a fan of the strange halitosis effect from his mouth either. And come to think of it, I wish we saw more of the Cenobites other than Pinhead and his dog. But they're saving that for the climax. And despite these security guards' indiscretions, he decides to make them into Cenobites instead of killing them.
I hear it. Please, don't separate me from my brother. I give you my word. That will never happen.
Let me guess, he's going to take "don't separate me from my brother" to a ludicrously literal degree. So the process begins with them given spiked masks and we see the mysterious blue liquid again replace their blood. And then a more unconventional part of the transformation, as their faces are merged together by a spinning column. Well, that raises the gore quotient for the film. But the fact that this is all being done by Pinhead isn't really consistent and makes him seem more important than he actually is. The Cenobites are merely the hands and will of Leviathan, the god of the puzzle box. It was Leviathan that made Chenard after all. So this makes Pinhead into a Satan-like figure, which I'm sure was the intention, but it still annoys me. And Pinhead begins his plan to get Merchant.
Suffering is the coin of the realm.
It's the what of the realm?
Coin.
Coin. I think the air-conditioned yarning guy's been writing Pinhead scripts. But anyway, Pinhead's plan is to go after Merchant's son.
They say the greatest suffering a parent can know is the loss of a child.
Yeah, that's fine, Pinhead, but could you back the fuck up from the camera a bit? And I seriously don't know what their plan is, other than to dick with Merchant. I guess they want to stop his creation, but they never actually say that. We move to Merchant's wife and son as she leaves him alone for a second to do laundry. She goes to the creepiest laundry room ever, which has nothing to do with anything, it's just needlessly creepy. Then she hears her son scream and runs to see what happened. She finds him downstairs, but he's unable to move as we see Pinhead has a hold of him.
God.
Young, unformed. Oh, what appetites I could teach him.
Yeah. Somehow they made Pinhead wanting to kill a child that bit more awkward. Also, what the fuck is with Pinhead's makeup? With his horribly red face and blue face parts? Maybe it just doesn't work well in the light. Merchant runs in, somehow knowing something's wrong, despite being absent from the events for some time, and he sees a knife in the wall with his magazine picture, which is somehow bleeding, so he takes that as a sign to go to his building. Meanwhile, Pinhead has left Merchant's wife and son in a conference room, and they see the box on the table. Merchant's wife, or Bobby as we find out, picks up the box, but the Chatterer Beast was apparently there the whole time. I should say that I don't really care for the Chatterer Beast. I'd much prefer regular Cenobites. The Beast is really just there to try and add something unique and memorable. Merchant gets to the building and finds his way to the 7th floor because the elevator is stuck there. Can't really fault that logic. And now Pinhead has converted the corridors into the corridors of Leviathan. Again, somehow. Merchant finds Bobby and his son, but he's stopped by the Chatterer Beast, and Pinhead appears to have a chat. Pinhead pontificates as he tends to do, threatening Merchant's son to get him to finish his machine. Wait, what? Okay, I admit I didn't understand Pinhead's plan, but I never thought it would be, hey Merchant, finish your doomsday weapon that'll destroy me and everything I stand for. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, another attempt at a badass line.
For God's sake. Do I look like someone who cares what God thinks?
That one's alright. I'll give you that one. Merchant asks what Pinhead wants.
The box. A pathway to hell. The room downstairs. Potentially a bigger pathway. You will help to fulfill its promise.
Okay, so he reveals his intent to make the doomsday weapon into a big puzzle box instead. That's a really stupid idea. Think about it. Essentially, it would be like you giving someone else a gun and forcing them to shoot everyone else but you. And why is Pinhead still on this take over the world kick anyway? He was only like that in the last movie because he had no rules binding him. The merchants are escorted through the building by Pinhead, and they quickly make a run for it, and Merchant places his son in one of the elevators on his own for reasons only known to Merchant. And then he confronts Pinhead. Why? You can probably tell that around this point, it's where Alan Smithy rears his ugly head, as the film's starting to get quite a bit of slapdash editing that doesn't make a lot of sense. The confrontation reveals something about Pinhead as he outlines his plan.
The box, once thought so powerful, is only a model. What you will give me is the true version. No longer will we have to seep into your world like pests through cracks in the baseboards. Once and for all, we will open the gates, lay low the ramparts.
Wow, this film just completely missed the point of the Cenobites, didn't it? And basically made Pinhead's character into some kind of evil demon emissary of Satan, rather than something far more ambiguous, esoteric and elegant. This is dumb, lazy, and a ham-fisted approach to his character and the Cenobites. Pinhead threatens Merchant's son again, causing him to run and save him. At the same time, Bobby is cornered by the Chatterer Beast in another room as she bars the door shut with a table, to which the beast just bashes through the door. But again, the box is so simple to open, it opens in a matter of seconds, sending the Chatterer Beast back home. Merchant gets to the building lobby, finding Angelique has his son.
So young. So tender. So right.
What's with the creepy child molester comments? It's making this film very awkward. I mean, child murder, death, torture, mutilation, the French. That's par for the course, but now it's just awkward. Angelique tells him to get to work, and when Pinhead shows up...
The toy maker's design!
Why is she acting scared of Pinhead now? I'm just confused on all of this. Everyone seems to have their own plans, and they're all crap plans too. The machine is activated with lights flying everywhere, but it just stops working and Pinhead kills Merchant, in a very quick and very easy way. Why didn't he do that from the start? Because he clearly had no second thought of doing it then. I guess his big take over the world plan wasn't really that worth it. So with Merchant dead, there's not much else for Pinhead, so Bobby runs in with the box as it flies out of her hand and for some reason wraps Angelique in chains, dragging her into the portal. Don't question it, just go with it. And everything around them explodes as Pinhead is also banished, ending the modern section of the movie. Ending the flashbacks for the film as well. So when they said Le Marchand will be cursed throughout his bloodline, they really just meant twice. Once in modern day and once in the future. It's kind of a shame we don't see other timelines. Or hell, how about showing us anything of the Merchant we've been hearing this story from? Would have been nice to see how he learned about his past and what he needs to do. But I guess that's potentially on the cutting room floor. We'll never know. Back in the future, permanently now, Rimmer says she doesn't believe his story, but as the captain comes in to say they're about to leave, the Cenobites decide to prove their existence, cause obviously it's time to kill off the cannon fodder one by one. One of the team is in Merchant's room and he hears a girl's voice coming from the vault as he rushes to blast the lock off it. He enters the vault, finding the destroyed robot, then the Cenobites appear with Pinhead wasting no time killing the guy in a ridiculous way. And the Cenobites are now free to roam the station as we see what has become of the twins and Angelique. Speaking of Angelique, all that stuff with her and Merchant, the seducer and the seduced, and how they are linked, yeah, that plays no further part in the movie. She is for the most part a generic Cenobite, there to kill people and have no other function. The team realise they lost contact with one of their members as Merchant informs them why.
He's dead, and if you don't let me out to finish my work, you're all dead.
I do wish we had more time to know who these people are. A little bit of time to establish them would have made me give a shit about them dying. But you know, they're in the film to be killed by the Cenobites. That is their function, that is their purpose, nothing more. The body of the first guy to die is found, and then while wandering around Merchant's quarters, one of the guys finds human Angelique in the mirror.
Help me, please, please help me.
And she just lures him close and then pulls him through and kills him. It's not so much how, but why did she do that? Surely there are simpler ways to kill someone than that. Also, again, this is the movie missing the point of the Cenobites. Death was the conclusion of what they did to people. First and foremost, it was about the pain, the pleasure, and the sensation. But here, they're just slasher movie monsters, which is very boring. Another guy meets Pinhead in the corridors, even firing a weapon at him that does fuck all. He runs and hides and is then killed by the Chatterer Beast. You can tell they were going for a Pinhead meets Alien vibe for this part. But as I said, there's no reason to care about these people at all. We've been given minutes with them at most. Rimmer releases Merchant, finally convinced he's telling the truth, and it only took 3 deaths to convince her. They get things ready and the captain goes to find and help his men, but Merchant tells him his gun is useless, and then says that the box will protect him, as he goes in search of it in the vault. He finds the box just as the Cenobites find him, but he's confident he can open it, to which Angelique lets him try.
It's a box. It's just a box.
Yeah, thanks for that advice, Merchant. You could have told him how to open it as well. He'd have been better off not bothering. The twins get to have a kill now because everyone gets at least one. It's only fair, as they split into 2 and they either crush the guy between their bodies or absorb him. It's kind of hard to tell. I should say, by the way, that I like the design of the twins a lot better than any of the other designs from the last film. They fit more with the original aesthetic, and it's a nice touch to give them comedy and tragedy-like faces. But now, with everyone dead except Rimmer and Merchant, he and Pinhead meet in the control room as he believes he has won. Merchant distracts him with an image of the Earth from orbit, buying time for the ominous timer we've been seeing. And while Pinhead's distracted, Merchant sneaks out of the room. Merchant tells Rimmer to get to the ship and ready it for takeoff. Rimmer makes her way to the shuttle but is chased by the Chatterer Beast, as she runs into an airlock sealing the door behind her, then out of the same airlock again sealing the door. But then the Beast is in the airlock somehow. No idea how the hell that happened. But never mind, as the pressure causes the beast to explode.
Play dead.
So, gunfire can't stop the Cenobites, but a rapid change in air pressure can. Does that mean they can be killed at the bottom of the ocean? It's the same principle, at least. Then it's time for the final confrontation with Pinhead and Merchant. They talk about faith and what Pinhead has faith in.
And what do you have faith in?
Nothing. I am so exquisitely empty.
He sees the shuttle launching but ignores it as he says rather defiantly,
I cannot die. I am forever.
And at that, Merchant disappears, leaving Pinhead alone, and Merchant activates the station and realizes his ancestor's design.
What have you done?
As the station folds up into a giant cube, with it harnessing the light directly at Pinhead, he's given his last words.
Welcome to Oblivion.
Then the station explodes, presumably stopping the Cenobites for good and ending the movie pretty much immediately. Now that ending I have to comment on, because quite frankly, it was fucking genius. Think about it. It gives a definite end to the series by killing off Pinhead, and yet, because it was set in the future, leaves it open for as many sequels as they want. It's absolutely disgusting, but it is genius. So that was Hellraiser 4 Bloodline, and it definitely deserves to be the worst of the theatrically released Hellraiser films. The fact that the Cenobites have been perverted into slasher horror movie monsters is bad enough, but the whole thing's pretty weak. With Bruce Ramsey as Merchant, I have to admit he had a tough job playing 3 different characters, and for the most part, he pulls it off okay. The rest I can take him or leave him, except for Angelique, she was awful. And I do wish there were more timelines explored, but also more of the main plot in the future so we know who's dying, which could have been fixed with a longer running time and more flashbacks interwoven with the main plot, instead of each story all at once. The film had some great ideas, but it was just executed poorly. I would genuinely love to see a director's cut, but that's not going to happen. So that's 4 down and 5 more crappy direct-to-DVD Sci-Fi Channel level films to get through. And yeah, Bloodlines may be bad, but the first 4 Hellraiser films are definitely the best in the series. Join me next time when we... You know what? Something's telling me we should take a break from Hellraiser. See you next time for something different.